Welcome, everybody. We are so thankful that you are here tonight for this impromptu deck meeting, if you will. And it's a Friday night. I'm so impressed that so many people made it tonight. Thank you so much. We have a couple of goals tonight. And the first goal is we want to be able to present a realignment consideration. There's no voting tonight. We just want to present it tonight to see if there's any questions, hopefully no objections. And as a result, we're hoping that the business meeting at our conference will go very smoothly. I have seen some business meetings in districts, not just this one, that the realignment presentation has taken up an hour or two of the business meeting, and it pushes everything back. So we're hoping that we can get everybody involved tonight or throughout the next week or two if they listen to the recording. So that is our goal tonight. So let me go ahead and get started. You can see this title screen here. The committee, when it first started, it was myself, Nick Sager, and Kim Santan. We did a lot of work, a lot of data mining. Kim was able to get a lot of the information down from the Toastmasters website, gave it over to Nick, and Nick did miracles with this data through spreadsheets and Tableau. And it was just amazing to watch these two come up with all the numbers that we can make some educated decisions with. And so first thing, I just want to thank them for that. Well, along the way, I think it was Nick maybe had a conversation with Stacy, and the three of us talked, and we thought maybe it'd be good to bring in the district leadership chair to our discussion, and that's Stacy Thomas, because whatever we agreed to at the business meeting, Stacy has to make sure that she has enough candidates to fill all of the open positions for area director and division director. And Stacy joined our committee about 3 weeks ago, I think, and it was like she was just a regular member of the committee. She had a lot of great things to add to the committee. And I hope and I think that it has helped her with her recruiting for the district leadership roles that we have coming up at our business meeting. So that's a little background about the committee. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. And Kim, would you like to take it from here?
Yes, thank you all for joining. It's so great to see all of you. We wanted to start off with making sure that you understood that whatever recommendations that we make for the realignment followed the Toastmasters guidelines. And out under the governing documents, Protocol 7.0 is what oversees our committee. And so what we are going by is making sure that we have at least 3 areas in each division. Each area has at least 4 to 6 clubs. And if we did have any areas that had only 3 clubs, there has to be one that's in the pipeline to charter as the 4th club on July 1st. So those were our governing rules that we took to our committee discussion. Nick, next.
All right. Nick, thank you for taking it over. You're on mute, Nick.
Thank you. Looks like my changing slides didn't take, perhaps. I don't know. So with those requirements in mind, we had a lot of considerations that we also wanted to apply. We've got a lot of feedback from area directors and past district leaders and current district leaders about things we should probably consider when trying to set up our areas. One of the things we very much wanted to keep in mind was every club's intention, expectation, or plan on how they would meet as a club in the future. So we sent out a survey, again, on top of Kim downloading data about how clubs meet now or what Toastmasters.org says. We knew that that isn't always up to date. So we sent out a survey and incorporated every response we received to figure out and make sure we kept in mind which clubs expected to be online only, which ones expected to be hybrid. And we had a fair number, not a lot, but a fair number of clubs who planned to be in-person only. that was very important because when you're trying to put clubs in different areas, in-person geography is very important, but for online and hybrid, it's less important, though still important. Also, we wanted to factor in metrics such as the current roster of every club and how many DCP points they have to get an idea of strength. One of the things we've seen for area directors in the past with other realignments is that some areas were just set up or doomed to be better or stronger than others because all the good clubs ended up in one area, right? And I hate to talk about clubs in terms of good, but it's just a matter of, I guess, strength versus struggling. And with the pandemic and other factors, there's a fair number of struggling clubs, also a good number of strong clubs. And we wanted to set up every area director for success, or at least an equal playing field. So based on these kinds of metrics, we made a point to put just as many strong clubs in any area as another, and just as many struggling clubs in any area as another. That plays into the sustainability of the divisions and areas. If there's at least one big brother, big sister club to kind of help guide and nurture and instruct the other clubs, then those that are struggling have a better chance of sticking around. Also, therefore, the area has a chance of sticking around, and also the area director has a chance of becoming and encouraging and coaching their clubs to be in a distinguished area. We did consider geography. Toastmasters guidelines on paper, because they don't update those very often, puts geography closer to the top. Knowing what we know about online and hybrid and the ease for an area director to visit a club, no matter where it is, if it's hybrid or online, we consider geography, but we put it towards the bottom of the list. It was sort of an afterthought. After we made our decisions, we went back to look if we could move some things around to make them better match geography, but it was secondary relative to, again, an even distribution of strength versus struggling clubs. And then also, as a consideration, we wanted to change as little as possible. We knew a lot was going to change. There's just a lot of clubs we lost this year.
Teacher,
I think you might not be on mute. If you could adjust that. But we wanted to, at the very least, not have clubs change divisions if we could. But even better, as a bonus, we also sought to not change areas if possible. So a lot of factors went into play. That's why we used, spreadsheets and data mining and lookups and maps and all kinds of stuff. But I'm really proud of the result, even though it did result in more change than we would like. Less than we feared, though, for sure. I'm ready for the next slide if you are.
Well, hold on just a second, Nick, if that's okay. If you could go back, thank
Sure.
you. Before we move on, any questions about this slide? And I want to stress the fact that geography is pretty much number one on the Toastmasters website for assigning clubs into an area. And in the past, it really meant a lot, but we moved it down. And Kim doesn't even know this. I said something before the meeting. I talked to some folks from World Headquarters last night. I was in a meeting and I mentioned this to them and they thought it was brilliant, to be honest with you. They didn't expect us to have so many hybrid and online clubs next year. And the fact that we moved geography down on the list was perfectly okay with them. So I just wanted to point that out. But I'll pause just for a few seconds if there's any questions about these considerations.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, and does Toastmasters International feel like that in an ongoing post-COVID world, there are going to be a lot of clubs that stay online? Is that going to be a trend that we do see?
That is a great question. And while they were surprised at the number of hybrid and virtual clubs that we were going to have next year, I mean, it's like 95% of our clubs, right? They mentioned that they didn't think that hybrid would ever go away. So hybrid's probably not going to go away, which means online is perfectly justifiable as well. Anybody who wants to go back to face-to-face, we'll accommodate them as well. So yes, they're on board with that.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Good question.
I need to, well, I'll just pause the show.
Dawn?
Yeah, go ahead, Donna.
We have found, you know, at our HCA corporate club that we have like 23 members, and including guests, each week. And I don't know if you know this, but HCA opened it up to not just corporate, not just Nashville, but everywhere. So people are finding out that they can join because it's online. We're hybrid. So we only have maybe less than 8 that come in person, and most of it is online in the hybrid format, and that will never go away. So I just thought I'd, you know, that was just an FYI.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, I want to say, never say never.
Oh yeah, never say never, right?
But it doesn't look like it will go away anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, since the members are in Colorado and all over the United States, I mean, we would have to have hybrid to continue to include the people who have moved out of the Nashville area, and, you know, so anyway.
Yeah.
Let me ask one other follow-up question, if I may then.
Yeah.
How often do we redistrict so that if virtual does start going away quickly, can we flex to that and redistrict again? Or is this something that's only done every 5 or 10 years?
It's every year.
Every year. And that is an amazing question, because one of the things we considered, and we'll get into that in just a minute or two, one of the things we considered was flexibility of our proposal and how it accommodates future growth, as well as losing some clubs maybe from time to time. So excellent question. That did come into play with our thinking, and you'll see that in just a couple minutes.
And I do wonder, could the trio even call a special meeting if they so chose next year to say that, okay, in these 5 months, things have changed very much than the survey results, than every expectation. We want to do a realignment now rather than waiting till the end of term. And we may not know the answer. I don't know the answer. I didn't think of it to ask until now. So
Kim and I have the answer, but Kim, do you want to say it?
I would say, I don't know the official answer, but I am guessing no, because it affects so many other things such as contests and conferences and things like that, that it would be done once a year for the beginning of the next term.
Yeah, and to your point as well, the protocol that Kim talked about earlier, that's something we need to follow at the beginning of the year. Toastmasters at World Headquarters, they know that it will change from time to time. I mean, if you look at our district right now, and I'll talk about it on the next slide, but if you look at our district right now, we would not qualify for that protocol, to be honest with you. Yeah. So that's why it's once a year, and they understand that during the year. So as a matter of fact, let's talk about that on the next slide. So here were our concerns that we came up with our current alignment. Looking at protocol 7.0, if we did nothing today with our district as far as realigning, we would have 6 areas with less than 4 clubs, which meant that we would have to sort of prove, if you will, to Toastmasters that in those 6 areas, we have one in the hopper for each of those areas, which we don't. So that's a concern right now. We have 5 areas with 3 clubs, same thing. We'd have to kind of prove to them that we had another club in the pipeline in those areas. But here's the other thing. Here's the warning sign. We have an area with only 2 clubs, so we would lose that area. They wouldn't approve that area. The next thing is we have 13 clubs who are currently suspended with 0 members. So we are at risk of losing several clubs this year. So all of that said, we would not pass the protocol right now if we started this right now. So that's the important thing about what we're doing this year. The next thing is, Nick talked about sustainability of our areas and divisions. Right now, as you can see there, we have an area with, or division with 5 areas, 2 divisions with 4 areas, and 2 divisions with only 3 areas. So it's very lopsided, if you will, from a division director standpoint. They have different amounts of responsibility with what we have right now. And if we start to lose some areas in those 2 divisions, those divisions are gone. So we have the potential of possibly losing 2 divisions if we don't do anything right now. Okay, the next thing is risk. Here it is, risk of doing nothing. We're in a position to lose 6 areas and 2 divisions, which makes this year's realignment very important. And we talked about this a little bit. We have had a little bit of a leadership challenge over the last couple of years. We haven't been able to find enough area directors, if you will, and I think we even have a division director open at this point. So we're going from, well, you'll see it in a minute. We're going from 5 divisions to 4. So we only need to find 4 division directors. And we're going from 19 areas to 16. So we don't have as many people that we need to recruit, and hence Stacy on our committee now. So we can kind of help her with her guidance of finding future leaders next year. So let me pause just for a second before we get into the nuts and bolts of what we're proposing. Anybody have any questions about this slide with our concerns? Okay, let's go ahead and move on, Nick. So we're going to get into now our overview and in some detail about our proposal. So currently we have 5 divisions, which we're at risk of losing 2. And we have 19 areas we're at risk of losing several of those as well. So what we wanted to do with this restructure, if you will, this realignment, we wanted to make each division and each area as equal as possible. And Nick touched on it earlier. We wanted to have a level playing field for all of our area directors to be able to become distinguished, and every division director to become distinguished as well. You can see here that we renamed a couple areas in B just to be more consistent with the numbering. Years ago, when we combined A and B, we kept the area numbers from A, area 11, area 10, into B. So what we're doing here is we're changing it. We have 20, 21, 22, and 23. What this allows us to do is if we have a lot of growth over the next few years in the northeast part of our district, we can come back and open up Division A again, and we'll have that numbering from 10, 11, 12, et cetera, and it would be seamless addition to this chart. The same thing over here with Division E. We have currently, I believe, 50, 51, 52, and Area 54. So we just sort of did a sequencing of numbers there, 50, 51, 52, 53. What you see missing here is Division F. We're allowing for future growth back into that area as well. We can always open up Division F if we need to again. So we're going from a couple sort of risky divisions to 4 solid divisions with 4 areas in each. So I'll pause right there to see if Nick and or Kim have anything to add to this. If not, we can open this up for questions, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of each area.
I do have a mental picture in mind. I don't know if this serves or helps to confuse, but I almost wish I could draw a picture here for each of these areas that just show that a quarter for every one of these areas, right? A quarter of it would be green for that strong club we found. Another quarter of it would be red for those struggling clubs that we applied to each area. And then the middle would be a greenish yellow for the, what did we call them? The,
Resilient.
gosh, I can't remember. Resilient. That was the word. I love that word, although I forgot it. So the middle would be, the middle half would be a greenish yellow of resilient clubs, ones that they might be below 20 members, but they have a strong DCP score or a strong history. They consistently compete in competitions, those sort of things. So we consider those resilient clubs. But we, again, worked really hard to make each area even as far as that distribution goes.
All right, Kim, if you don't have anything to add, we'll open it up for questions at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and move. Nick's doing a countdown. Thank you, Nick.
All right. So now we come to the breakdown.
Yes.
Division B. Okay, I clicked next. There we go.
All right, so here, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, go ahead. The divisions do roughly align geographically. So this would still be far east Tennessee, Knoxville and beyond.
Yes, one thing we found in our analysis is of all the different divisions that we have, B was sort of the most balanced, if you will, and the most solid, sustainable, if you will. So not a lot of changes as far as any of these clubs moving out of B or into B. The only difference really here on this screen is we shifted around some of the clubs from area to area. Again, as I mentioned before, we used to have B10, area 10, and B area 11. Well, now they're folding into 20, 21, 22, and 23. You notice in area 23, there is a club in red called Blue Diamond. That is a proposed club that Ahmad, Club Growth Director, is expecting to charter by the end of this month. So we put him in there just as a visual to let you know that there may be a club joining that area. Now you may be asking yourself, why 3 of these areas have 5 clubs in them and one has only 4? In those areas, except for area 23 with Blue Diamond, if you will, or even in that area, as Nick mentioned, those areas have a club that we're concerned about. And if they were to fold this next year, only one in each of those areas would still have 4, we believe, solid clubs. We would not be, hopefully, at risk of losing them. So if we were to lose one club in those areas, it would still be a great model. There'd be 4 clubs in each of those areas.
John, can you tell me where Wednesday Orators is? I can't remember. Wednesday Orators Club. Is that up in the Northeast?
Yes, Mary, that's up in, I believe, either 10 or 11. I think it's currently in 11.
Okay, I just wondered. Okay.
Yep. It's either Kingsport or Johnson City.
Johnson City, I believe, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're currently in area 10, which is that Northeast area. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't called their name in a long time. Okay.
All right, any other questions about B? Again, this is probably the one that really didn't have a lot of changes to it as far as movement in or out of this division.
Yeah. All right, next slide.
Thank you. Here's a division. Now, don't panic, don't freak out here, okay? Here's a division where we did have some movement, and it's interesting movement, but we feel it's justified and we can defend it, but we're open to questions. So let's talk about this first one first, area 30. So if you, area 30. So if you look at area 30, basically not much changes. 3 of these clubs are currently in area 30, and there was just one that we shifted from area 32 into 30. Very slight change to area 30. If you look at area 31, 4 of the clubs are in area 31 right now, but we added a club, and don't be shocked here, we added a club from the Nashville area, from area E52, and that's Metroplex Motivators. We did that because we had enough strong clubs in the Nashville area to have one super strong club, I guess you can call it, in each area. So we had an extra club or 2, and this is one that we shifted over to Chattanooga to make that area even stronger. And the reason we thought we could do that, because they're hybrid or online, which means whoever is the area director for 31, with all those other clubs that are hybrid or online, they can support them from wherever. So it won't change anything logistically for what Metroplex Motivators does. They'll still have their meetings. They can still have joint meetings with clubs in the area, et cetera, et cetera. All it means is they're going to have an area director probably from Area 31 in the Chattanooga area, and they'll be able to share that area with clubs they've never been with before. And it can really bring some networking opportunities. They can lift some of the other clubs up, if you will, because they're a very strong club, and give them a chance to get to meet more people, especially at the contests, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So I will come back to that one in a minute. You may have questions more, and I'll move on to Area 32. There is another club in 32 that we are getting ready to charter as a district by the end of the month. Hopefully Ahmad told us that, and that's Santa Fe. And so we put them in Area 32 for now. You know, next year things could change, but for now we put them there. That gives us 5 clubs in that area. There's one that we're a little bit fearful that we might lose. And if we lose them, we still have 4 clubs there. So a little background on this one now. One of the clubs here was from Area 30 from this year. 2 of them are in Area 32. We kept them there. But one of them, the Parthenon Club, we moved from the Nashville area, just Area D40. And it's just, we needed a club there that I believe was resilient. We needed a club there. They're online or hybrid. They'll fit in with everybody else. Same with Metroplex Motivators, that they can be supported wherever in the district. And they have an opportunity as well to network, meet some new people, share some contests and trainings with. And we think it's a win-win. All right, let me go to area.
Council meetings would be great too.
Oh, and yes, I was going to get to that later.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that, though. Yes, we love area council meetings and division council meetings. But let's move to Area 33. Area 33 is probably the one area that has the most changes, if you will. It's definitely got the most changes in Division C. If you look at this area here, only one of the clubs is in C right now, and that's Downtown Dazzlers. They're in Area 31, I believe, in C. So we had to come up with some clubs to balance out that area, and we drew from the old Division F, if you will, as well as Division D. So we've got 2 clubs that we brought over from Division F, Area 63, and 2 clubs from Division D, Area 41 and Area 42. Again, we felt like we could do this because they're all hybrid or online. They can be supported from wherever in the district. So we had to balance some of those Nashville clubs over to Chattanooga to come up with this balanced alignment, if you will, to make C even stronger than what it was.
And I will say the way geography played into some of this is that all of these seemingly distant clubs that aren't in the quote Chattanooga area are some of the clubs that are nearest to Chattanooga geographically. So Parthenon is in Murfreesboro. It's also just off of Interstate 24, though maybe an hour and a half away. Same with Cookeville. It's just off a state route. So maybe an area director, if they're really ambitious, they really, really just want to visit every club in person that meets in person, they could if they wanted to, but they don't have to.
And you might be asking, well, why did we not just fold Division C if we had to move all these clubs into Division C? And we really wanted to try to keep a strong division in the Chattanooga area because it is one of the major cities in Tennessee. So we kept Division C, and that's why we folded Division F.
Yes, thank you, Kim, for that. I appreciate that. Any questions about Division C at this point before we move on to D? Again, none of these clubs have to change anything logistically. They're just getting an opportunity to be with other clubs in the district and for that networking. And hopefully they can share lessons learned and ideas with each other and bring everybody up. Okay, Division D. Division D.
Geographically. Oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
Just geographically, Division D roughly corresponds to South Nashville.
Yeah. So let's look at Area 40 first. Area 40, 4 of the clubs that are in Area 40 came over from the old Division F, if you will. And one of them came over from E52. So this is really a hodgepodge here. for Area 40 and Division D. But again, like Nick said, we try to keep it geographically centered, if you will. And we also had to look at those strengths of the clubs as well to make it level for all area directors. So this one is a little bit different because none of these clubs were in Division D before, but they all are now together. Area 41. Area 41 has currently 2 clubs that are in Division D. And one was Area 40, Area 41. And then 3 clubs came over from Division E into this area, Area 41. Again, it's because of that balancing thing we had to do with the level playing field for all the area directors. And again, some of these you can see have 5 clubs as well. And that's to protect us if we lose a club. So we can all still have 4. Area 42, 3 of the clubs came over from E and 1 came over from F. So Area 42 is kind of a mixture as well. And there is a new club here, Tractor Supply, that we're close to charting as well. Area 43. Area 43, let's see, 4 clubs. Okay, let me backtrack. Area 42, I misspoke there. I was looking at Division E. Area 42, all of those clubs that are in Area 42 now are still in Area 42. I am so sorry, I got ahead of myself. Everybody in D should have been yelling at me there. But no, these are still in Division D, so not much change there other than Tractor Supply. Area 43, same thing. All the clubs are there from D, just different areas, but we had to balance it. So the real volatile ones were more so 40 and a little bit in 41, but 42 and 43 all currently in D. Any questions about Division D? Thank you, Nick, for that countdown. Now we're on to Division E. Thank you so much for that, Nick. All right, Division E, Area 50. Currently, 3 of the clubs there are in Division E, and we moved 2 from Division F into this area. And again, you can see that 5 clubs in that area. Area 51, we have 3 clubs that are currently in Division E, and 2 clubs from Division F were moved into Area 51. Area 52, 3 of those clubs, thank you, Nick. Division E is North Nashville, thank you. Area 52 currently has 3 clubs in Division E, not much difference there. 1 club from Division F came over. And Area 53, we currently have 2 clubs from E and 2 moved over from F, and actually 3 currently in E and 2 moved over from F. So not a whole lot of movement in E other than some clubs from F coming in.
Where did BBS Toastmasters go?
It's a great question. When we try to find them on Toastmasters.org, there are no results. They have a DCP dashboard, so that they have a score for Distinguished Club Program. But if you try to find them, like when find a club, there's no results. We've tried BBS, we've just tried everything. We've tried searching by club number, and there's no results.
Because they're still meeting. They're still meeting.
They are, and I'm working with BBS to get them back onto the Toastmasters website. We don't understand why they're not showing up and find a club, and we're working with them to get back on there.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Donna,
go ahead.
That was the one that I sponsored, so a couple of years ago. Yeah.
No, thank you for that question. I'm so glad you noticed that. When we downloaded all this data, when Nick and Kim, especially Kim, downloaded all that data from the website, we couldn't find them. And we have them in our notes to follow up with, like Stacy said, but we just didn't have enough information on them to put in here, but we will work on that after this call.
And what about Blue Cross Blue Shield? I don't see Blue Cross Blue Shield either.
Yep, we have Blue Nash, which I believe is
oh yes, Blue Nash Toasters. That's them. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
That's
I saw
okay.
them somewhere. Oh,
Yeah,
you moved them
back
to
up a
D.
slide, Nick. Go back to
I think
D.
they're in D.
Oh, you moved them to D. That's right. Okay, where are they at? Blue
Area
Nash
41.
Tower?
Area 41.
Oh, okay. So BBS.
And there's BBS
there's
right there.
Yes, there's okay.
BBS.
All right, good. There's BBS. All right, they'll do good in that area.
Yeah.
With Let's Talk Brentwood, and yes, they'll really. Both of those clubs need sister clubs that are strong. That's good. Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem.
problem.
So let's go ahead. One more slide up, Nick, if you go to Division E again. And are there any other questions about Division E before we move on?
Well, the next slide is almost redundant.
Yeah. So
any questions you withheld?
any questions or concerns at this point? If you can think of this, forget everything we used to do in the past with our alignment, looking at geography, et cetera, coming up with the appropriate leaders in those areas. Now leaders can come from anywhere. For example, if we have 5 people in E that want to be an area director or division, area director, one of them can be an area director in another division now, especially if they're all meeting hybrid or online, which most of them are. So we don't have the same limitations as before with geography. And we're really excited about this realignment because it gives a chance for others to network with each other, share competitions, et cetera, et cetera. But here's another point that we really haven't stressed yet. And that is a lot of our clubs are bringing in members from outside of our district and outside of our country as well. And so this gives them an opportunity to stay in those clubs because they're still meeting virtually or hybrid. And so this will not impact any club that has members from outside of our district as well. We can continue to bring those members in, and we just think that's a fantastic thing. And I know World Headquarters was excited about that as well. So any other questions?
Concerns?
Or concerns, thank you.
Hopefully you don't have too many. We worked really hard on this, but we definitely want to hear you if you do have anything.
Yeah, and as we said earlier,
that's a great job. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mary.
I wanted to say it's a great job. That's a lot of work. My gosh, you guys, I applaud you. That was hard. Well done.
Let me ask Mary and everybody else, are there any questions that you think we need to address when we deliver this to the business meeting at the spring conference? Any questions that you think other members that have that maybe aren't here tonight that we need to be able to address when we get there?
I like it that you bring out, first of all, that, you can do this job from anywhere. You don't have to travel all over now, which I really think that will bring in more people, because in the past, like 20 years ago or 17 years ago or whenever it was that I was an area governor, my concern was being able on my lunch hour to run around and visit these clubs. Now, that is not a concern. I go to an empty conference room, turn on my computer, and I'm visiting. So I think this will allow a lot more opportunity for people to get engaged and get into leadership. Y'all did an outstanding job. Thank you.
And you're right, Donna. I think we have 5 areas that have one club that will be meeting in person at each of those areas. Mm-hmm. So for those areas, we're trying to recruit someone who is in that area who will physically be able to go to the club. For all the other areas, we have got area directors coming from everywhere. So I've got some area directors in Nashville that will actually be serving in Division C as an area director because everything's online. So it shouldn't be an issue to them. But we do still have a couple of areas that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Stacy, is it possible for you guys to clarify when people see this for the first time, which ones are hybrid and which ones are just online and which ones are in person, so that just in person, so that when somebody's looking at this, they already have everything, all the information in front of them? like, I don't know if TCE meets just online or in person by looking at your spreadsheet, but it would be helpful, you know, to process if that was available.
It's available. I think we should be able to color code. What do you guys think? Don,
I mean, it's only as good as the data that they have provided to us.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
So we,
Sure.
you know, we sent out the survey, they filled it out and suggested what they were going to be.
Yeah, they did 3 things, Mary, and you may have gotten one of the surveys.
She did.
How do you meet now? How are you going to meet in the next 6 months? And how are you going to meet next year? So if you didn't fill out next year, they just assumed how you're meeting now, so how you're going to be meeting. So we made some assumptions based on that survey.
But Mary, I like where you're going with this, and I think it's very doable, and I think it could help as a visual as well. And I know David put something in chat. Will these slides be available? Well, if it's okay with Nick and Kim and Stacy, we'll talk a little bit after this meeting. We'll talk about putting those meeting types on the spreadsheet, but we definitely have to provide these slides to the deck and to the trio before that business meeting. So yes, they will be going out.
Yes.
I think if you color code this is just my opinion, if you color code only the clubs that meet in person only, then it gives you an idea of what person you need for that area. And then the rest, you know, if they're online or hybrid, they're online in some way, shape, form, whether it's online or hybrid, but just letting people know which ones meet only in person. Then you know you've got to have a person in person to visit. So anyway, that's just my humble opinion.
No, that's great, and that's why we're so grateful that Stacy joined us. So she knew that ahead of time for her challenge, if you will, of finding our future leaders. So they needed to know that. Absolutely. Any other questions or concerns?
Any feedback on the presentation?
And now we'll open it up for praise and thanks.
Oh.
Awesome.
I'm grateful.
Job.
This was a fun project.
It was definitely fun.
Yeah.
Awesome job to all of you.
Oh, well, thank you. So if there's no questions, what we'll do, like I said, Nick and Stacy and Kim and I, we get together, we'll try to finalize this out. We'll send it up to the trio for final review. And then they will get with, I'm assuming, Sonia, probably to put it out to the deck. And so everybody has a copy before the meeting. And, you know, based on tonight, I'm very optimistic that we will have a smooth sailing business meeting, and we won't add additional time to that business meeting because of this. That's always the goal, to try to get all the questions answered before, if we can. You never know, though, when we get to the business meeting, there'll be other club officers there, other members that may have a concern or may have a question. Obviously, we have to address them. But the more questions we can answer ahead of time and the more concerns we can address, I think it's just a win-win for everybody.
And
I think too, Don. Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
Yep. I was just gonna say, if any of you have friends in other clubs that would be interested in this, they have questions, please have them reach out to one of us. We'd be happy to meet with them and talk through it.
I do know that Panther Supreme was trying to come back. They had financial support from the school. And then they got hacked. The whole school got hacked. And so they lost their computer system and their ability to do anything. And they're still in a recovery mode. And I'm waiting to help them once they get started. So if a club, be thinking about if a club drops off because they got behind on everything and they lost the members, and they're coming back, where you put that group. So Panther Supreme is, I talk to Becky Milam all the time. She says, we're going to come back. We still have the money from the school, but I don't know when, because we're still struggling. Wait, she has yellow tape around her computer at her office.
Oh my word.
You know, that's a great question. Kim, do you want to address this, how we will assign clubs this year?
Yes, so we did make a recommendation. We met with the trio about a week ago, and we did make recommendations for future club growth. And if there's an area director that is currently working with or has sponsored a club, we would recommend putting that in that area so that that area director can receive credit towards being a distinguished area. If there's no area director helping, then we would just recommend looking at the clubs and finding a spot where it best fits to support that area. So if you're almost going to lose one, it might be good to replace one. So we'll definitely keep that in mind, Mary.
Yeah, and at that point, if no area director or division director recruited that club, so to speak,
Yep.
then the trio has the flexibility to discuss it and move where they think it's best, basically. So we've allowed for that growth. We've allowed for that growth.
And then one more thing that I would say, you guys are all experienced Toastmasters. You've been at this for a while. You know that most of our members don't probably even know what area or division they're in, and they really don't care. But we do have some that do care and do know. So you guys are going to help us to roll this out. I mean, you need to help us talk to them and explain to them what we're doing, why we're doing it, make them okay with it, or help them to get okay with it. If they have questions, please refer them back to the committee and let's discuss. If they have some legitimate concerns, we need to know that. But some of the folks we need to, I think, work with a little bit more to make them understand that this is not a big deal, really. Why does it matter what area you're in or division that you're in?
Yeah,
because we're all part of the same district.
I worked this hard for not a big deal. Is that what Stacy, you know I'm kidding.
I just thought of something. I wonder if some clubs will say, oh, I'm used to competing against X club, and I'm wondering if this is going to change the dynamics for speech contest, and if that's going to be an issue. So y'all need to be prepared to tackle that.
Believe it or not, Donna, that was on the list of things to be considered, is who is competing against who and what areas are they in, and is that going to be a problem? So that did make the list of concerns that we had when they were reassigning. And we also talked about going forward and having online contests and hybrid. How are we going to do that? Also, how do we do TLIs? We've looked at all of that stuff as well.
Awesome. I know y'all have thought of everything.
We don't know that. That's why we're sharing all this with you, is to see what we missed.
Yes.
We thought about an awful lot, but I don't know if it's everything.
Our spreadsheets got pretty big, but it was fun.
All right, if there's no other questions, I will ask Nick if he has any final thoughts he wants to share.
I did fail to say Nick got nerdy, but otherwise I think I said all the points I had to say.
Stacy, anything else to share with everybody?
I am still looking for some area directors, especially we need a couple in B, a couple in C. Actually, I think every division except E needs some area directors. So if you know of anybody who's willing to serve, please let me know. We also need division directors in B and E. Those are still two open divisions. So yes, Mary, we need division directors as well. So if you know of anybody who's willing to serve there, please let me know. I'd like to have them all in place before we actually have our vote. But if we can, at least by the end of this year, I'd like to get as many in place as possible.
And they don't have to be in that area now, hopefully.
Yeah.
Kim, any final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good. I'm excited that you guys like this proposal.
Yeah.
Didn't beat us up.
Ahmad, any final thoughts from the trio?
No, I think y'all did an excellent job at it, and I don't have anything to add.
All right, everybody, thank you again for spending your Friday night with us. We appreciate this, especially at the last minute. We really like to give people more notice, but we wanted to do it soon after we met with the trio to give us enough time to finalize everything for the business meeting. We do have a recording. If I can just figure out now what to do with it, we'll be good for everybody else who missed it. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Hope to see you at the conference, but I also have to put a plug in for the International Convention in Nashville. I do know that World Headquarters will be looking at the members of our district to come out in droves to volunteer to help with the event. So be ready for some communication from me and or World Headquarters about that. Probably about 2 weeks out, you'll probably be hearing something from us. So be ready to volunteer. I told them we're the volunteer state. Expect a lot of volunteers.
Tell them
Is that why I moved here, Dawn?
Yeah. Well, guys, you're making us all look bad as much as you volunteer for. I'll tell you what, you're perfect here.
Well, and I don't know if you saw in the chat, but yeah, I'll help with the national conference or whatever.
All right. Well, thank you.
And I may even have a volunteer from Ireland.
That'd be awesome.
One of them is thinking about coming out here for that. And he's like, is there anything I can do? I said, oh. Don't ask me. I will find something. So if he comes, I'll let you know.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick. You had one more thing?
I don't know if this was a test and we all failed you, Don, but we do have one club that we found out is chartering today. And we will convene as a group to find out where best to put them. So there will be at least one change between what you saw tonight and the official conference business meeting.
Yeah.
I forgot. It's only been a couple hours since we found out.
I know.
It's a problem. It's a great problem to have. Like I hope we have the problem 2 more times before conference.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody. Oh, Sonia, you want to talk about what you just put in chat?
This is your reminder to register for the conference. Even if you're a member of the trio, you have to register. And even if you're a district director, you have to register. And the advantage is if you get to be one of those first 150 people, you get that fantastic swag bag that they talk about on our podcast. So click on the button right now and register if you haven't already done it.
And also you will be getting emails from Becky Beggarly to register to vote. Make sure that you do that. You have to register separately so that we can count you and make sure we have a quorum at the conference. So please click on that link as well.
And Dory's looking for judges.
We're the volunteer state.
That's right.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. If I could ask Nick, Kim, and Stacy just to stay on for 2 minutes longer. Everybody else have a great weekend ahead, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming. It's been great to see all of you.
Bye. Great job, guys. Great job.
Thank you.
Don, would you like to stop recording now? Now would be a good time? How about now?
Now would be a perfect time.